Wang of Peking University. Here I'm presenting genetic contributions to East Asian morality by me and my advisor, Dr. Yanjie Su. During the session, Morality in China. Morality is a heatedly discussed topic in human society. Major morality is comprised of multiple dimensions, such as knowledge, values, judgment, and behaviors, and also involves multiple processes, including empathy, perspective taking, and abstract reasoning. So where does morality come from? Previous studies found that even 5-month-old infants can show preference towards helpers over handlers, which can be viewed as the evidence for their ability to make societal moral evaluation. Actually, many researchers propose that morality is the product of evolution. Moral principles such as cooperation and reciprocity come from our need for group cooperation and competition. These principles can increase our survival rates. From generation to generation, morality has been coded in our genes. So here we want to summarize the genetic contributions to morality, which can help us explore the foundation of human morality. Individuals' genes can be tested via DNA test based on individuals' blood or saliva. It is widely accepted and also verified that biological traits such as height and appearance can be predicted by genes, and psychological traits such as IQ and certain aspects of personality can also be predicted by genes with more or less degrees of accuracy. Similar to biological traits and psychological traits, individuals' moral-related abilities and moral performance can also be predicted by genes. However, most studies were conducted in Western countries, where participants were most Caucasians from highly individualistic cultures. It remains unknown whether the findings also apply to East countries, where participants were mostly Mongolians from highly collectivistic cultures. Furthermore, it is interesting to examine whether genes have similar or different effects on morality across different populations. So here are two aspects of views. On the one hand, the effects of genes on morality might be similar across populations, given that different ethnicities share the same biological foundations and different cultures have some moral consensus. For example, both harm aversion and unfairness aversion are two central moral considerations across different cultures. However, on the other hand, the effects of genes can be different across populations, because we found that different cultures have different opinions about morality. For example, Chinese view uncivilized behaviors such as talking loud in public places as immoral. However, most Westerners would not do that. They usually view very severe immoral behaviors such as killing people as immoral. Meanwhile, ancestors of different ethnic groups had been exposed to different environmental factors and then went through different natural selection processes, making the distribution of their genes different. So this might also be one factor that can make the effects of genes different across populations. So to solve the above questions, here we summarize the genetic findings on morality in East Asians and also compare the effects of genes across different populations. Furthermore, we discussed the underlying mechanism of genetic contributions to morality and also future directions for this field. Before we start the review of genetic findings on morality, let me introduce some basic knowledge about genes. So, uh, genes genes can influence the genes can get the coding and transcription of proteins within cells, and then the proteins can influence the function of our hormones as hormone receptors or an enzyme. So, uh, through its influence on hormones, genes can influence the function of our body or of our brain. So, based on the above processes, we summarize the effects of genes according to their interaction with different hormone systems, including oxytocin, dopamine, serotonin, testosterone, and arginine vasopressin. And here are our results. So, here's the different hormones, and here's different gene alleles, and here's the genetic effects, and we can see that different genes have similar effects on morality across East Asians and Caucasians. More specifically, some genes have positive influence on morality, which refers to more pro-social behaviors, better empathy, better perspective taking, and less aggressive behaviors. And these genes are related to the function of oxytocin, which is also called the love hormone, and arginine vasopressin. Meanwhile, some genes have negative influence on morality. The negative influence refers to more aggression, more harm permissibility, or more cheating behaviors. And we can see that the negative genes are related to the functions of dopamine, serotonin, and testosterone. Meanwhile, we also found that the effects of some genes on morality are actually specific to East Asians, and the effects of these genes might be related to some specific characters of Asian morality, which needs further examinations. So, how can we explain the effects of genes on our moral performance? Based on previous findings and the theories proposed by previous researchers, here we propose the gene to hormone to brain to psychology to behavior model to explain the effects of genes. So let's take OXTR, a gene related to the function of oxytocin, as an example. So individuals with this specific allele tend to have higher oxytocin level in their bodies, and higher oxytocin levels can lead to the increased perceived salience of social stimuli in their brain, and such brain responses usually can lead to better perspective taking and empathy ability, or in other words, better social cognition, and also can make the individuals have a lower harm permissibility. And these psychological factors later lead to more prosocial behaviors and less aggressive behaviors. So, through this pathway, the gene can predict individuals' moral related behaviors. And the above mechanism might also apply to other genes. However, we have to admit that more evidence is still needed to support the complete pathways from genes to moral behaviors. And also, um, more more things can be explored in this field. So first of all, future studies can compare the effects of genes across populations with large-scale cross-population studies. So available findings are mostly based on indirect findings of different studies. So here, if we can have large-scale cross-population studies, we can examine whether the effects of genes are actually similar across populations with more direct evidence. And also, moreover, we can try to separate the effects of cultures and ethnicities to explore the effects of genes across populations. And second, future studies can explore more about the effects of multiple genes on individuals' moral behaviors. And third, future studies can explore more about the interaction between environment and genes. Previous studies have found that bad environment can enlarge the negative effects of genes, but it remains unknown whether positive environment can have some positive influence and enlarge the positive effects of some genes, which can provide us some insights into the intervention. And finally, and also importantly, future studies need to pay attention to methodological issues to avoid the report of false positive findings. Pre-registration and standardization of procedure might solve this problem. So, in summary, here we review the genetic findings on morality in East Asians, and we found that most genes have similar effects across East Asians and Caucasians. And on the other hand, some specific genes have specific effects on morality in East Asians. And meanwhile, we propose the gene to hormone to brain to psychology to behavior model to explain the genetic contributions to morality. So that's all. Thank you for listening.